Yo, what it do, y'all? This your boy King Ad the Great, representing that screwball family, representing Off the Cuff Radio, Buddy Boy Entertainment. Let's get it, man. So, I want to talk about Ice Cube War and Peace album, Volume 1. I want to give a breakdown about this album here and get my thoughts about it. Now, this came out around 1998. 1998, hip hop was changed. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Hip hop in the 90s had like what, five different eras. And then around 1998, we was going back to the streets here with DMX and the Rough Riders, and you had Jay-Z coming in with the Boss Talk, mixed with the street appeal. So West Coast gangster rap at that time was Naseh. And a lot of people see Snoop had went down south. The Death Row era was done. Tupac was killed. The Dog Pound at that time, they were just doing things independently. Everybody was trying to find their lane. The East Coast dominated that year. And the South came up that year as well with Master P and his movement. Outkast had went multi-platinum. So, with hip-hop changing, Ice Cube changed with himself. I mean, he switched his whole flow and style. His flow was different. He adopted this persona called the Don Mega. He basically had, when he was recording this album, he had both feet in Hollywood at this point. So, going into this album, it disappointed a lot of people when they heard it because they wanted to hear that raw, militant, uncut, unapologetic Ice Cube. But see, Ice Cube was at a different point in his life at this point. He was making moves in Hollywood. He was building his brand. At the time when he was doing the West Side Connection album, he was one foot in the streets, one foot in the industry, going to war with the East Coast. Cube at this point was at a stage where, okay, I'm ready to boss up. So, don't get it twisted. He can still show in this album that he can get down. Peep that opening song, Ask About Me. That's one of the hardest openers that I've ever heard in an album. The way Cube was flowing on that mug, I was like, yo, Cube gonna mess around and drop a classic. The way that nigga was flowing, I said, yo, it was incredible. Freeze with that sound. I will let it off round. Lay your whole up and room down. I won't see the runner, but the baby hunter. There's marijuana in my sauna. And I had it with you maggots and faggots. Going ahead and causing static. Bring me the semi-automatic. Bitch, you know what we side. Bitch, you know the side. World motherfucking wide. I said, wow. Then it followed up with Pushing Weight, which was okay single. I think he did that to introduce him, Mr. Short Chopper to the world. But he has some bangers up in here that I like, man. I like the song Dr. Frankenstein, where he talked about how he was the Frankenstein that pioneered gangster rap, and he put all these parts together, from Dr. Dre to Yella, all these influences together to create this Frankenstein that Ice Cube really is. So that was basically him giving props to the people that came before him. Then you had Ghetto Vet, which is one of the best songs Ice Cube has ever done, man, because it told the story of a gangbanger getting shot, getting paralyzed, and recovering, but losing his manhood and losing his dignity in the end. It was great storytelling. And there's some songs up there that still have the reminiscence of the old Ice Cube up there, like Three Strikes. Three Strikes is one of the hardest songs he ever did, man, because he metaphorically compared the three strike system in Los Angeles to playing a friendly game of baseball. I think he kind of took that concept from Main Source, but it was dope nevertheless. I like The Curse of Money. The Curse of Money, he broke down the downside of having the fame, because it broke down the downside of having a lot of money, which brings a lot of fake friends. He referenced that when he said when they laugh at your jokes when they ain't that funny. People that kiss your ass extra just because you have some bread. Cuba's getting on a lot of that, man. But see, then you had Penitentiary. I think Penitentiary should have been a third single, because it showed the reality of what goes on behind those prison walls and how many brothers were screwed within the system. But even the song with Korn was pretty good, man. I thought that was very creative for him. He went out the box on that one when he said, F dying. F a live star. I'm a 5-star. F dying. It's just like the way he said this stuff was dope. And I could be getting the lines wrong, because I haven't heard the album in a long time, but I just wanted to do a refresher of what I remember, because I listened to some of it the other day. But my only downside of it, to me, was some of the production on some of the songs was off. He had some filler joints up there, like X-Bitches and Limos, Demos, and Bimbos, and Ass Over Cash Over Ass. I mean, some of them songs he could have just left off. And plus, it's just like I said, when he wasn't on his militant steez like he was, or he wasn't gangstered out like he was on the Bow Down album or the Predator album or Lethal Injection. I think that threw a lot of people off, because people wanted to still hear that from Ice Cube. But we got to understand that Ice Cube at this time was at a different point in his life where he been there, done that. He was evolving. Now, the Don Mega style that he adopted, it's a hit and miss scenario. But I thought this album was solid. I'll give it a good 7 out of 10. He could have took some songs off on the later half. Then what he should have done was took the other songs from the peace version and added them together. Then you would have had a classic Ice Cube album. So that's my thoughts about that album, man. I mean, War and Peace was overshadowed with a lot of the releases that came out around that time. I mean, hip hop in '98 was crazy with the releases. Everybody was coming out in the fourth quarter. In the third, fourth quarter. So, being that the West Coast was still going through the motions and the East Coast and the South dominated that year, Ice Cube was overshadowed. But he still showed that he had the chops to still go out there and do his thing. So that's my thoughts about War and Peace, man. I mean, if you definitely check it out. It's not a bad album. It's not on levels of Lethal Injection or Death Certificate or America Most Wanted. Ice Cube set the bar for himself so many times, man, that anything below an 8 is bad for him. That's how dope Ice Cube's run was. That man had like a 5-album run like no other. So, that's my thoughts about this album here, man. If you find it, check it out. Check out Ask About Me, man. That's one of the hardest set-offs I ever heard. King Eric the Great, signing out. Holla.